Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today I titled this message, Eating Disorders and the Holidays. And unfortunately, we have some individuals who they're not going to tell you, but they have an eating disorder or two. And you may have suspected this sort of thing, whether they are climbing the scale quite rapidly or declining on the weight scale quite rapidly. But either way, somebody has a problem, and sometimes people at these family functions don't pay close attention to what's going on because they're too busy stuffing their faces themselves. And besides, food has always been a comfort. It's always helped me through struggles. And I don't need nobody to be telling me how to eat. And I'm sure not going to tell anybody how to eat. Oh, you got some of these enablers. Okay. Go on over there and get yourself something. I don't really want to eat. Girl, you need to put something on your bones. Last time I saw you, you were skinny and now you're skinnier. Well, sometimes people don't recognize that people got problems. I tell you, when I go through extreme states of stress, I don't eat much. And there are those individuals who, when they go through extreme stress, they eat a whole lot. Okay. And then some will even throw it all up because they know that they don't want their secret to get out and start showing up on the hips and face and everywhere else. So let's talk about eating disorders. First of all, I'm going to pull some information from an interesting book that I learned out of. It is called The Mental Health First Aid USA for Adults, Assisting Young People. And we are going to get into what are eating disorders before we get into recognizing some of the signs and symptoms of eating disorders, especially with our young people. An eating disorder is not just about food, people, okay? It's not just about weight or appearance or willpower. But what these eating disorders are serious and potentially life-threatening illnesses, okay? And young people with eating disorders see their self-worth largely in terms of their body shape and weight and their ability to control them. When you see a young person and you make negative comments, whether they're skinny or whether they're obese, what you are doing is you are attacking them. You are an agent for Satan. I know some folks don't want to hear it, but I'm calling it like it is. Years ago, an individual told me in the family that there was a relative who hurt her deeply because every time when there was a family event, she always had something to say about how much food she put on her plate and her body shape. She was young and she already had issues with trying to lose weight, control weight, all of this stuff that everyone was telling her, well, you should do this, you should do that. But one particular individual was just really mean-spirited about what she was saying to her. And so it did damper her relationship as well as her view of the relative. And to be quite honest, she said some very, very negative, nasty things about that person because of what that adult said to her when she was in her youth. So this sort of thing can actually affect your relationship with a young person when you are that one that doesn't know how to bridle the tongue. Okay? They don't need to be reminded about how small or how tall or how big or how, they're gaining weight or losing weight. They don't need to be reminded about all of these things when you know that they are trying to do some things differently. Okay? Now, if they're not trying to do anything differently, then you leave it up to the parent, to the teacher, to the support group, to the mentor, to the people who know how to talk, okay, with love, with compassion. But when you know that you are that one who on any given day don't know how to speak in a compassionate, loving, sweet kind of way, it's best to just shut your mouth, especially at family events, where people are already a bit tense about being around some of their, shall we say, interesting relatives. Now, most people with eating disorders are very distressed about their appearance, their body shape and weight. And I knew a woman who was well over 200 and some odd pounds, and she was about 5'3", 5'4", and she knew that all eyes was on her when people seen her. The last thing she needed was somebody to make a comment or joke or reference about the way she looked. But sometimes it's not even about people opening up their mouths. It's about the way they stare up and down. Okay? And she made every effort to walk. And she made every effort to watch her portion sizes. And as we all know, when we are trying to lose weight, it takes some time. And things don't just happen overnight. Even when you have a surgery, you still have to do necessary things to lose the weight. But you got some of these impatient, irritable, and downright ugly individuals who don't mind talking about, are you trying to lose the weight? Have you done anything about your problem? And then they wonder why folks don't want to come around them. You see, you got to check yourself, right? Are you doing things that bring people down? Yes, we know folks need to exercise. And yes, we also know some people need to lay off on some of the exercise. Okay? But either way, we got some people who are doing some things that go far beyond just what we see. Okay? A young person with an eating disorder can be underweight or overweight or fall within the healthy weight range. But either way, the person can have an eating disorder. Okay? Within the U.S. population, the lifetime prevalence of eating disorders of one sort or another is approximately 10%. Eating disorders affect a large number of people in the United States. It was once a widely held belief that the only people who had eating disorders were young, white, middle to upper class women. During the past few years, however, there has been, listen to this, an increase in the number of African American, Hispanic, Asian, and Native American youth and young adults with eating disorders. Okay? Although eating disorders are more common in girls, 4%, than in boys, fewer than 2%, the number of boys and young men coming forward to say they have an eating disorder is increasing. Okay? Young boys and men saying they got eating disorders. Eating disorders typically develop at ages 12 and 13. So if you are around somebody who's that age, pay close attention. Many people with eating disorders may also have another mental disorder, particularly, listen to this, okay? The eating disorder is coupled with anxiety, depression, and or substance use disorders. Eating disorders are associated also with a higher lifetime risk for suicide. So there's a lot to pay attention to when you are around people who are just acting a bit odd about eating. Okay, and you look at their plates and you see that some things don't look quite right. Whether they pile a plate up high or whether they have food on it as if they are feeding a bird or a cat or something. Something is going on. Signs and symptoms of eating disorders. It is important to know the signs that indicate that a young person has or is developing an eating disorder. The following are behavioral, physical, and psychological signs that indicate an eating disorder. Let's pay attention. Let's start with the behavioral, okay? There are those dieting behaviors such as fasting and counting calories and avoidance of food groups or types, okay? There are the evidences of binge eating, which is disappearance or hoarding of food. You go into the room, you look under the bed, you look in cabinets, drawers, what have you. There are food particles, snacks, you name it. That's not where food belongs. Somebody is snacking through the night. Somebody is snacking during times when they shouldn't be. And of course, rodents can leave their share of feces behind. And that is also an indicator too that there is food being stored somewhere that it may not be the appropriate place, okay? Especially if a rat or some other animal can get a hold of it. Evidence of deliberate vomiting or laxative use, Okay, since when do you buy some laxatives? Well, I've been constipated lately. Okay, well, wait a minute. How often has this constipation been taking place? Every time you turn around, going into the bathroom, vomiting, something is going on. Excessive, obsessive, or ritualistic exercise patterns. Every time you look up, that one's running on the treadmill, that one's going on the bike, this one is part of this event and that event, and it has something to do with exercise, it has something to do with bodybuilding, and all before they weren't into all of that. Pay close attention. Yes, it could be for good reasons, right? Just maintaining weight or what have you. But sometimes it becomes an obsession. You already worked out this morning. I know. Now you're working out this afternoon. I know. Now you're working out tonight. Okay, wait a minute. A little bit too much working out going on. Ain't all the working out in the world. Something is up. Changes in the food preference, refusing to eat certain fatty or unhealthy foods, cutting out whole food groups such as meat, dairy. And I did know of, there was one individual who she did this sort of thing. And when she did, she took out the meat out of her diet when her body was used to eating meat. But she decided to do that. Next thing you know, she had all sorts of issues that rushed her to the hospital. Okay. Of course, low iron. She became anemic. And a lot of other complications. So this isn't something that you are supposed to, I'm just going to do it because, it's a new diet and I think it'll work. You don't just do that to your body. Just shut off everything cold turkey. Development of rigid patterns around food selection, preparation, and eating. Some of these people are very nitpicky, very strange about their food. Okay. And you could just pick up on some things that something's going on in that brain. There's avoidance of eating meals, especially when in a social setting. Oh, no, I don't want anything. I don't want anything. Okay. You're going to be at this family event, sweetheart. 4 to 8 hours, possibly as long as 10 hours if we stay and help everybody clean up and you still haven't ate anything. Oh, I just don't want anything. I don't want anything. Lying about the amount or type of food consumed or evading questions about eating. Why are you always asking me about whether or not I ate? I told you I didn't want anything. Behaviors focused on food, planning, buying, preparing, and cooking meals for others, but not consuming meals themselves. Okay, you're good about making sure everybody else eats, but what about you? Behaviors focused on body shape and weight. And they've got a serious interest, and I do mean a serious interest in weight loss websites, books, magazines, images of people being thin. I mean, some folks even will cut out some images and hang them up on a wall. They will even make their bodies look like certain individuals. It's just an obsession with some people. And then, of course, there's social withdrawal or avoidance of previously enjoyed activities. Okay, so you get an idea that some people are serious, beyond serious even, obsessed with eating or lack thereof. Their physical body, let's pay attention to that. There's the weight loss or weight fluctuations. They're very sensitive to the cold. There's changes in or a loss of menstrual cycle. Okay. And there's swelling around the cheeks or jaw, calluses on the knuckles, dental discoloration from vomiting. You look at the teeth start to look really yellow, strange looking. That's a lot of vomiting going on. And they faint. What's up with all this fainting? Okay. All before she wasn't fainting, but it seems like just about every week or every other day even something's going on. Okay. So there has been some individuals that as I'm reading these things, I've come across where the biggest things that stood out with these people was the vomiting and always having some type of complaint about their stomach. There was also a lot of skipping of the meals, and there was feeling cold a lot, and then some spells of fainting. This had a lot to do with the persons actually not eating. Okay. It wasn't about them eating. It was about them not eating. Sometimes just stressed out, anxiety issues, If you have a addiction to cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, what have you, that's going to take away your appetite. Okay. And so when your appetite is taken away, then you have all these other issues that go on. The psychological, things to pay attention to would be the preoccupation with food and body shape and weight. Of course, extreme body dissatisfaction. Oh, I hate the way I look. Oh, I'm so fat. I'm so skinny. I'm so this. I'm so that. Oh, look at my butt. Look at my breasts. Always saying something about their body. Please, right? But that is a psychological issue that's going on with them. Distorted body image. They're complaining of being or feeling or looking fat when really they're not, or they really are, but or they're turning around and saying that they're not so big. Okay. So you got some mixed up stuff that's going on in some of these people's minds when they are going through issues dealing with eating disorders. There's sensitivity to comments or criticism, okay, about exercise, food, body shape, or weight. And sometimes when you know that you're supposed to do the right thing, guess what? You tend to want to demonize people. Okay, you want to say, you don't project your issues onto me, and who do you think you are? And meanwhile, the doctor told you that you need to cut out all of this eating, or all of this drinking, or whatever it is. Or maybe you need to start eating, but yet everybody else is wrong and you're right. And sometimes people want folks to jump on the bandwagon. She just told me that I needed to eat some food. She got a lot of nerve. I can go without a day without eating. She don't need to talk to me about my food. That's right, girl. And then they look for people to co-sign on dysfunction. Okay. I'm not the one. When you're wrong, you're wrong. When you need to do some stuff to help your body. And then of course, when you help your body, you also, are a better person. Okay, because then all that irritability and drama and all the negative stuff that surrounds your body, you're not projecting all of that onto other people, you see, because a lot of folks who have eating disorders also are irritable people, and they're not very nice folks to be around. And these individuals that I mentioned earlier, the vomiting and the mood swings and the person who was trying to lose the weight and all of that, those folks have fluctuating hormones big time. Okay. Depression, anxiety, irritability. There it is. Low self-esteem, negative opinions of self, feelings of shame, guilt, or self-loathing, all psychological issues now. And they tie into these eating disorders. Rigid thinking, labeling of food as either good or bad. Okay. Ooh, I don't like that. That's terrible. Ooh, that's bad. Ooh, that's gross. That's this. That's that. Okay, shut up. But once again, eating disorders will cause people to have a strange way of behaving. What are some warning signs that are difficult to detect? Well, there are those feelings of shame, guilt, and distress about their eating or exercising behaviors. Therefore, these will often occur in secret. Okay, so the magazine's under the bed, or the pictures are hidden away somewhere on a file folder. There are just some diary entries that are disturbing. Okay, these are things that you can't see. The person looks normal, they look healthy, they look all right, but then you find out they have an eating disorder because of the strange things that they are collecting, the things that they are stating about themselves and other people, the obsession that they have with other people's bodies. Okay. They may use deceit to hide their eating and exercising behaviors. Okay. So they'll lie about what they're eating. They will lie about what they're not eating. And it's just a lot of deception that goes on with them. Will usually deny having a problem. So when you approach them and say, what's up with, this, that, and the other, and they're, no, I don't have a problem. That's you. And you shouldn't be going through my things. And why are you treating me this way? And, some of you all have been there. You know how this whole thing goes with some folks. And you may find it difficult to ask for help from family and friends. Okay, this may be you. Because sometimes it's very easy to listen when it comes to other people, but this may be you. Okay, and you don't ask for help. You don't tend to ask for help from people who are already body shaming you. That's why you have to go outside of that circle that you call family and friends and get with the professionals. And they don't need to know that you're seeing the counselor. for the eating disorder. Or you, the friend who's trying to help a friend, she don't need to tell everybody what she's going through right now. As long as she has a support system, that's all that matters. And her support system doesn't have to be her mother, her father, her sister, her brother, her husband, or whoever else. Same thing for the guys. What are some eating disorders that you might want to do some further research about? Anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, okay, binge eating. You can look those up if you suspect that you or someone else has a serious eating disorder, okay? Anorexia, we know that is when someone is underweight and they're using extreme weight loss strategies to lose weight. Then bulimia is when someone purges or fasts or does excessive exercising after eating large amounts of food. And then, of course, binge eating occurs when a person has regular episodes of eating an unusually large amount of food in a short period of time and then continues to eat beyond the point of feeling comfortably full. Okay, and sometimes these binge eaters will eat up a lot and then claim that it's okay and it's all right because they exercised for 3 days this week or something. That's not good, okay? And don't let them talk you into buying yet one more pack of this or another pack of that so that they can sit in one seating and eat this up and eat that up and then turn around and feel real bad. Okay. So these people, they become angry. They become defensive when people talk to them about their weight and about, okay, you took my pack of cookies. I just bought my pack of cookies. Why would you do that? What are you talking about? And anyway, so what? I'm allowed to eat them. And, so there's even arguments about the food. Or I just bought that. Where did it go? I don't know. And they'll blame somebody else or they claim that they didn't eat it and they really did. Okay. So there is drama that takes place with folks who have eating disorders that does come into your camp sooner or later. It might be over there today, over in that neck of the woods, but might show up and affect other members of the household. So be prepared. Some people, they are going to just, when they're found out, they're going to try to stay away from you. Okay. So you might as well get ready for that because they're not ready to face the fact that they have a problem or they're ashamed that other people know. But you've got to go to the Lord and pray and ask the Lord to give you the words of encouragement, give you the insight as to what is going on with this person, because usually the eating disorder is tied to something that took place with, like in the case of the relative who said that she felt like she wanted to eat more just because the other relative said what she did to her about her eating. Okay. And that's unfortunate. But sometimes people can trigger some things in some folks. It's not about blaming people. It's just the fact. Sometimes people can trigger things and make people go off in their own little world and do some things to hurt themselves. And you don't want to be that person. Okay. So let us operate in love and be compassionate and be understanding. Sit down, ask questions, find out how the person is doing, find out if they need anything, right? Because sometimes somebody could be binging on something that is unhealthy, but the reason why is because they don't have the money for the healthy stuff. Okay. Or maybe somebody really is trying to do what's right, but I'm having trouble because, well, the person who I live with, they're the ones who have the money to buy the groceries and they're buying all this junk, so sometimes people, they're aware that they have a problem and they're trying to make an effort, but it's hard because the support system isn't around them. And you might be that only person. And that is, the support system. Okay. But when things are going out of control and you just cannot carry the weight of someone, it is always best to look beyond yourself and seek professional help for yourself or for someone who is going through this difficult time with eating disorders. As with other mental illnesses, there is no single cause. A range of biological, psychological, and social factors may contribute to the development of an eating disorder. The biological is the obesity increases risk for bulimia. Childhood obesity increases risk for anorexia and bulimia. Early starts of periods in girls ages 12 or younger increases risk for anorexia and bulimia. Family members with an eating disorder, okay, that will contribute to eating disorders. Family members with other mental illnesses, right? Sometimes generational issues, they come on down the line, don't they? Such as depression, anxiety, or substance use disorders, okay? All of these things will generate eating disorders. Psychological, dieting, low self-esteem, perfectionism, anxiety. And as I'm reading this, I know full well that an individual in the family, another one, there's quite a few of them, but another one definitely had an eating disorder, and nobody paid that attention. But it's interesting when you start reading and you start studying and learning some things and you start connecting the dots. Yes, there definitely was some eating disorders that was going on with this individual. Now, social conflict in the home will contribute to an eating disorder. Low contact or high expectations. Abuse will also bring on an eating disorder. For me, when I went through the situation years ago with the violent individual, yes, I did end up having an eating disorder where I was not eating much at all. Okay. I couldn't even remember sometime if I ate that day because I was under that much stress. So abuse, physical, psychological, and sexual or neglect will also affect a person's eating. Okay. So the point is we've got to go deeper. Okay. We can't just look at a person and say, okay, she's skinny. What's up with her? Oh, he's fat. What's up with him? There are things that go beyond what we see, people. And this is why we have to be not just of mind and body, but of spirit too. Let me go to my Father and find out, Lord Jesus, what is going on with my brother or sister in Christ, and how may I be of assistance? Is this recent eating disorder? And ask yourself, if you find that you're fitting some of what I'm talking about, ask yourself, okay, what has taken place recently with me that has affected my appetite, has affected the way I eat, the way I drink, the things I'm getting into, the things that I don't like, the funny business when it comes to my conversation about food. Sometimes it's the people around you who they start nitpicking and complaining, and they have their share of eating disorders, and then it rubs off on you. Like the woman who had the issue with the relative who was eating much, the truth of the matter was that she herself had an eating disorder. It's just that hers was on the opposite end of the scale, where she ate very little, and the relative who was eating a lot, hers was on the other end of the scale. You see? So the kettle can't talk about the pot. They're both the same thing. Both had eating disorders. And when you look at the family history, both of them had grew up in environments where abuse had taken place. There was constant conflict in the home. Okay. There was also just parental obesity that took place as well. Okay. So there was things that was going on that once again went beyond how much somebody put or didn't put in his or her mouth. Okay, so there's the family history of dieting that will contribute to eating disorders, parental obesity, critical comments from others will also bring on an eating disorder. That's why you got to watch, once again, going to these family events and going over there with the friends and celebrating. If you got those that love to talk about each other, okay, and you know you don't do so well with criticism, it may not be a good idea, because if you are sensitive and you already are trying to get over some of this stuff, such as an eating disorder, the last people you want to be around are those that like to talk about the way you eat, that talk about your weight, talk about your body shape or other people's body shapes. There's this pressure to be slim. Okay, that will bring on a eating disorder. If you are a model or a dancer or a wrestler, or you're in any type of profession where you have to look a certain way, And then, of course, adapting to a new culture with new ideals of body types. You got some cultures that don't do so well with people who are, as they put it, big. Okay. And then you got some folks who they grew up around folks who, ooh, you're too small, you're thin, you're skinny. Okay. Our culture, a woman is a good woman when she has meat on her bones. I mean, whatever. There's always somebody having something to say. And in order for you to rise above a potential eating disorder, you got to be grounded in who you are, what you want out of life, the things that are healthy, the people who are functional. I mean, ooh, Lord, we could go on and on. And then, of course, environmental stress will bring on eating disorders such as racism or poverty. Yes, these are real issues, okay? And if you don't want to be the one who contributes to a 12 or 13-year-old's dramas, watch what you say, okay? Watch what you say. Biological issues will affect a person and how they react or respond to food. Psychological issues can bring about an eating disorder. Social issues, once again, can bring out an eating disorder. I know for some of you all, a lot of stuff, okay, that's wrapped into eating disorders. But the thing is that when you do discover that somebody is going through this major issue, okay, number one, you need to pay attention. Is this person potentially suicidal? Are they harming themselves? Okay. Or may even be harming other people because of what was done to them or said to them. Listen to their stories without being judgmental, without putting your opinion, okay, in the conversation. If they want your thoughts, then you give it. But when you do, you want to reassure them and provide them with some resources, some information, because you're not the psychologist. You can't diagnose whether they are having anorexia, nervosia, bulimia, and all of that. But you can give them necessary resources. You do want to encourage them to get some professional help, right? And if you are that one, you need to be your own counselor and advise yourself to go get some professional help. And then, of course, find out what are some self-help strategies you can use. You can even listen to some of the positive messages, affirmations that are out there, music that's used during hypnosis sessions, things that will help out with your eating disorder or someone that you know. Okay, so you are proactive in this thing. You know that it's something that is not right. And so you are making every effort to do what needs to be done. Okay. Now, anybody who has a serious eating disorder to the point where it's time to call 911, you need to be looking out for things like them talking out of their head, so to speak. Okay. What I mean by that is that they're saying things that doesn't make any sense. Okay. They're saying that they're seeing something and nobody else sees it. They're having some type of delusions or hallucinations. There's some disorientation, like they don't know what dad is or where they are. They're looking around like, what's going on? That's a serious symptom. And there's something else about to go down with that body of theirs. So it's time to start getting 911 on the phone. And also checking around the atmosphere, making sure they don't fall down and hit themselves on something, hurt themselves on something. If they're throwing up and they've been throwing up a little bit more frequently, there's some fainting that goes on, collapsing or too weak to walk, painful muscle spasms, chest pain, or difficulty breathing. Some of you all, you might have some of these symptoms now. Okay, that eating disorder has gone out of control and then some. Okay, it's time to get the doctor involved. There's blood in your bowel or blood in your urine. Your body mass index is less than 16. There's an irregular or very low heartbeat, and you have cold or clammy skin. all signs that that eating disorder is taking over. It's taking over. And then some people will have suicidal thoughts because they just can't take it. I can't take what's going on with me. I don't know why I am acting like this when it comes to food and everything else. Once again, there are those triggers that bring on eating disorders. And until you get those triggers taken care of, the disorder is going to come back and come back some more. And that's what you don't want. Why am I acting this way? Why am I doing these things? What caused me to feel this way, to neglect my body like this? Okay. And some suggestions for treatments. There's cognitive behavior therapy, and that's going to help you change your eating habits, or that person that you know who has some weight control issues. There's also interpersonal psychotherapy, which helps you to identify and change problems that are contributing to the eating disorder. There's family therapy, which involves parents or caregivers in preventing severe dieting or purging and overexercise. And there's physical intervention. And that is if, for instance, a young person has severe weight loss or a physical health crisis. Okay. So there's all sorts of treatments out here. There's no excuse. And then, of course, I myself, when I was going through my pregnancies with 2 of my 4 boys, I had dietitians. Okay. So there are nutritional counselors out there that can help you when it comes to choosing healthy eating habits. Okay. And then if you're dealing with children, you know to go to a child or an adolescent psychiatrist or specially trained nurse. And then, of course, the primary care physician can also help with diagnosing an eating disorder. There are websites that you can check out. mentalhealthamerica.net is one of them. And if you do come across an individual who doesn't want help, okay, you recognize maybe, for instance, that you have a problem, but then there's those around you who they got problems too, and you're trying to speak some sense. Okay, here's the thing. They most likely are going to fight you on it. They're going to say, well, that's your issue. Don't put your issue on me. I'm good. Blah, 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 blah. Right? So don't expect them to take your counsel. Don't expect them to do the necessary things to help themselves. Okay? You can always go to a professional counselor who can help you counsel that person, okay? Like say the right things, do the right things, okay? So that you don't end up triggering something within them that causes them to do even more harmful things to themselves, okay? This person stressed me out. Now she coming over here stressing me out about some food, and I don't want to hear all this, and just because she got some help, and you see what I mean? So sometimes you just don't know how to approach people, how to talk to them in a right way. So it's always best to just seek the support of others who know more than you do, right? So when it comes to the young people, you're going to have to be encouraging of the young person's strengths and interests that are unrelated to food or physical appearance, right? So we are redirecting our attention off of the food and their body and all that other stuff and looking at their strengths. Okay, encourage them in other areas. It would have been nice for the relative to speak to the younger relative about all of her accomplishments when it came to her grades going up, and she was a part of some activities in school. She could have zeroed in on some of the very positive things that was occurring in her life at the time, but instead she chose to talk about her eating, the fact that she had increased in weight, and all the food that was on her plate. Not good. So acknowledge the young person's positive attributes, their successes, their accomplishments, and try to view the person as an individual rather than just as someone who has an eating disorder. Can we do that, family? I'm sure we can. So that is it. I hope that once again you have learned something, okay, that's beneficial to help yourself as well as those that you love when it comes to eating disorders. Blessings to you. If you would like to give to this channel, by all means, do. And you can check the description box for anything that might be of interest. Thank you, and God bless.